Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
No one should have to choose between their own safety and their pets. But nearly half of domestic abuse survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Purina is helping to create more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters through the Purple Leash Project, so survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit Purina.com/purple to learn more.
I am Nicole Khalil, and on this episode of This Is Woman's Work, we're diving headfirst into a topic that I think is both very exciting and slightly confusing. And the topic is audacity, more specifically, how you can cultivate your own. It's a word that we all know, but might not know exactly how to define. We hear it when somebody takes a bold risk or puts themselves out there or goes after what they want. And we also have heard, or possibly said ourselves, something like, can you believe the audacity, when someone crosses the line into rude, arrogant, or obnoxious? So which is it? Is audacity a strength to cultivate or something to be wary of? In preparing for this episode, I did what I always do with powerful words that I love and hate to see misused and misinterpreted. I looked it up. The definition of audacity is a willingness to take bold risks and also rude or arrogant behavior. The etymology of the word is equally interesting. It includes courage, daring, and vigor, but also a shamelessness that is unrestrained by propriety. And I got to tell you, I kind of love it. I love that it's both, because so much of life is about claiming our power without over-rotating to the dark side, and about leveraging our strengths without allowing those strengths to turn into our weaknesses. And I'd argue that cultivating audacity might mean finding that sweet spot of bold courage and confidence without taking it so far into disrespectful shamelessness. The answer, as with most things, lies in the balance and in the authentic. Because here's the truth. What feels bold and courageous to one person can look rude and shocking to another. And if you're going to take bold, audacious action in your life, you better get comfortable with making some other people uncomfortable along the way, right? So if you've been holding back, hesitating, or second-guessing yourself, if you've been waiting for permission to take the risks that light you up, this episode is for you. Because I'm all in for you living boldly and giving people something worth talking about. And our guest today knows how to do just that. Anne-Marie Anderson is a 3-time Emmy Award-winning broadcaster, keynote speaker, and author who built an incredible career by taking bold, audacious risks. Fresh out of college, she walked through ESPN's doors and went on to cover high-performing coaches, athletes, and executives, learning firsthand how bold action leads to big results. Anne-Marie has applied those lessons in her own life, becoming one of the most experienced female play-by-play announcers in the country. Her system for confronting hesitation and breaking barriers has helped her and now others build the life they want. And she is also the author of the book, Cultivating Audacity. Anne-Marie, welcome to the show. And I want to start by asking you to weigh in on the definition of audacity. Is it a good thing? Can it have negative connotations? Is it about balance and authenticity? What do you think?
Oh, Nicole, I love that introduction because it encompasses all of it. It's not a straight line, right? It's a lot of gray. I thought that audacity was something to avoid. My parents used to say to me when I was a teenager, you have the audacity to speak to me that way, or the audacity to ask me. I thought I needed to avoid it. And then once I dug into it, the willingness to take bold risks, well, that's the definition I ended up choosing. Because you mentioned there's 2 different ways to do it. I chose the willingness to take bold risks because I think a lot of times, especially in women in business, we take that, be a good girl from when we're little into business, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You need to shed it.
Yeah, it has us living small, right? Because ultimately what I think happens, and again, I'm open to pushback on this. What I think often happens for us, especially as women, is we get so worried about other people seeing what we do as the bad version of Audacity that we end up not doing the good version. Thoughts?
Oh, yes. I mean, my father, who was my greatest cheerleader, he's passed now. He said to me once when I was 11, Amory, you're getting cocky. And I was mortified, right? This poor man who had been said nothing but encouraging things my entire life. And I hang on to one thing that he said when I was 11. As I was writing the book, Nicole, I decided to look up cocky, the word cocky, because I was like, oh, don't be too cocky. And it said, so sure of one's abilities that it annoys other people. And I thought, well, wait a second. Am I sure of my abilities after 30 plus years in television? Yeah, I'm sure of my abilities. That it annoys other people? Well, as my teenagers would say, that's OPP, other people's problems. And that's a great perspective shift. And audacity and cocky often get labeled together.
Yeah, and other people's problems, and we have no control over it anyway. It doesn't matter what we do, we're bound to annoy some people. And so it isn't part of Audacity taking bold risks based on what's meant for you, what lights you up, what you believe to be your purpose, what you're most excited about. Like, it can't be wrapped up in what everybody else thinks, or else it loses the audacity, right?
Right. I was going to say, then it's not audacious. I mean, part of being audacious isn't just like swinging for the fences just because, just taking bold risks just because there's risks that are reckless for sure. And then there are some that are worth it. The big thing that I tell people with audacity is that it isn't about anybody else. It is about learning your path, because you'll make some steps that don't work out. We talk about failures and fears that people like to avoid all the time. But once you get really audacious and practice it, that's just data. Every single failure, every fear that you have, that's just information that's going to push you closer to your values and vision and who you really want to be in this world.
100%. Yeah. And getting all of your ducks in a row and dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's and not having your foolproof plan and all of that. First, it's impossible. And second, not very audacious,
No.
right? Part of this is the risk. It's the
Yes.
unknown. It's the, as you said, learning as you go, collecting evidence and data so you learn a little bit more about what not to do so that you can get closer to what to do.
Yeah. I always talk about FOMO, right? People have fear of missing out. I don't have that. I have JOMO. I like to miss out once in a while,
Yeah.
right? When you get to this age, you're like, I'm sorry, I can't go to that party. I'm going to lay on the floor with my dog. But what I do have a fear of is staying the same. Because when you stay the same, the only possible outcome is no growth. You're not going to grow if you stay the same. So, and it took a while. I think in writing this book, a lot of people said to me, well, you're lucky. You're so bold. I'm not like that. Well, I wasn't. It was really a practice to do that. And it took getting comfortable with the fact that not everything is going to work out. But as long as I'm not staying the same, there's always that potential for growth.
Anne-Marie, you make a good point and tee me up perfectly for the question I was going to ask, which is this belief that I think many of us have or hold on to, that you're either born bold or you're born willing to take risks or extroverted or whatever it is. And you say that audacity is something that we can each cultivate. So how do we do that? Regardless of what our starting point is right now on our boldness or willingness to take risk, how do we begin to cultivate audacity in our lives?
I'm so glad you asked, because it's the word cultivate that's key, right? It's about growing it. So there's three components to audacity. There's the mindset of audacity, and the mindset really, Nicole, is honestly just optimism, right? The belief that things are going to work out. Not that they're going to work out the way that you think you want them to be, but that you're going to survive whatever that outcome is. It's pure optimism. If you think about playing sports and you're down by 12 at the half, why do you come out and play the second half? Because you think, well, maybe we might be able to win. So that's just mindset. Second thing is the behavior, the action, an audacious behavior. Because you can sit on your mother's couch being audacious all day long, being optimistic, and nothing's going to happen. Not a damn thing is going to change in your life. So until you take an action, and it can be any action, that's how you start to cultivate. And I tell people, just start as small as you need to. The word no. And it can be, if you're a mom and they call you and say, hey, can you help us with the yearbook? No. if that doesn't fit into your plan, is enough. Just taking some form of action. So you marry that optimism with action. When that becomes a habit and consistent, that's when you build your identity. So there's audacious mindset, audacious behavior, and audacious identity. And you'll know when you've hit that identity, when people go from, what is Nicole doing, to, that's Nicole. She swings for the fences. And that takes practice.
I mean, the way we get good at anything is practice, right? And
Right.
yet I think a lot of times we struggle with the how to practice. So I love this 3-part sort of system, if you will. And I love especially the mindset part, optimism. I would add the word confidence because it's a word I love, but I have confidence as firm and bold trust in self. And so I think there is this element of confidence or optimism, this idea that I'm going to be okay no matter what.
Yes, exactly.
I'll succeed or I'll grow. I'll win or I'll learn. I'll come out the other side somehow better. It's this, I don't know, faith often pops up, but I love the mindset piece, the optimism, the confidence, God, I don't know what's going to happen. And I love that you said that it might not turn out, it probably won't exactly the way you want,
Right.
but that it might turn out better, or that you might learn something or what have you. Such an incredible life lesson that I think we can continue to learn over and over again. So,
Nicole, let me ask one thing right there. And it also might turn out to be everything that you fear. Okay. And yet you survive that. That's really important too. If you're afraid, I think fear just closes us down, and rejection, and failure, embarrassment, judgment, whatever it is. Part of that confidence or that optimism is knowing you can survive that too.
Right. Now, you've been surrounded by elite achievers for decades. You are one yourself. What do you think we can learn from them about cultivating audacity?
I think that there are always barriers in our way, right? And all the people I've interviewed, the people I've observed over the last 3+ decades, it always comes down to one of 4 things: fear, time, money, or your inner critic. Why people don't live audaciously, why they don't take the risk. And some people would love to say, just go for it. Don't be afraid. Well, you can't stop somebody from being afraid. And so in the book, I go very specifically into each barrier. And not at one point do I say, well, don't feel that. Don't do that. Don't allow that. I really want you to let the fear in and explore it and swim around in it, maybe catastrophize what's the worst possible thing that could happen, all the way to the point where you die destitute and alone, because that's probably not going to happen, but you're probably also not going to win the Pulitzer Prize in your first attempt either. And I think once people start to get comfortable in, this fear or this barrier is part of me, how can I manage it? I've got so much going on, I don't possibly have time. How can I manage my time better without losing all my sleep in order to make things happen? I think there's a curiosity amongst the elite performers that I have seen throughout my life that has been kind of the unifying trait of all of them. They're curious about what they're feeling and experiencing and attempting to be thwarted by.
Yeah. I don't know why this popped into my head while you were talking, but it's sort of this concept of like, you can have your barriers or your barriers can have you. And with these sort of elite achievers, it's not that they don't have barriers. They have just as many, maybe more, right? But that they, as you said, are curious, almost like observing those barriers as opposed to having those barriers own and control them.
That's 100% it. When I feel fear, and I still do, right? I'm a keynote speaker. I've got all kinds of things going. I actually now think about, well, what exactly am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? Could that happen? My first time on television was in 78 million homes. My very first time. That was not the plan, Nicole. I was supposed to be like on a little regional network. A few different things happened, and my first one was there, and I was nearly paralyzed. And my husband at the time said, what's the worst that can happen? I hate that question. People always like to ask that question. I'm like, oh, let me tell you.
Yeah.
It can be really bad. Like
everybody's dying.
Yeah, exactly. Like I die destitute and alone, basically. at the end of it. But I thought, okay, I could be embarrassed. I could be judged. I could be bad on TV. I could lose my producing job. I was embarrassed. I was bad. I was judged. I survived. And I always tell people the second time on television, the only thing that was better that it wasn't the first time. But I did it again. And I did it again. And that was bad the 15th time and on and on. But to your point, each time I got a little bit of data of how to do things a little bit better and far more confident that I could survive other people's judgment or my own embarrassment. That was really the key for me.
You know how we're supposed to drink a bazillion ounces of water every day? Cute idea, but between work, life, and trying to remember what day it is, hydration doesn't always make the cut, which is why I love Cure. Cure hydration packs make it simple. Plant-based electrolytes, no added sugar, just 25 calories, and it hydrates better than water alone. And you know I love me some efficiency. My favorite flavor is lemonade. It's light, clean, and doesn't taste like somebody dumped a candy store into your water bottle. I use it on long recording days when I'm traveling or any day I hit noon and realize that I'm running purely on caffeine. And when I need more than hydration, like pre-workout where I need all the help I can get, I grab Cure Energy. It's got natural caffeine and electrolytes that get me moving and help me survive the part where I question all my life choices mid-workout. Staying hydrated isn't just about drinking water. You need electrolytes too. That's why I love Cure. It's clean, it tastes great, and it actually works. And for This Is Women's Work listeners, you can get 20% off your first order at curehydration.com/woman's work with code woman's work. And if you get a post-purchase survey, make sure to let them know that you heard about Cure right here. It really helps support the show. Don't just drink more water. Upgrade it with Cure.
I'm always looking for ways to show my cat how much I love her. And with Fancy Feast gems, I can pamper her whenever I want with a savory gravy on top of a gourmet mousse pâté. The pyramid shape makes serving simple, so all I have to do is peel and plate to make mealtime feel extra fancy. And with 2 entrees in every pack, it's easy to turn every day into the extraordinary. Fancy Feast gems.
Abercrombie Kids is bringing the cheer all holiday season. And winter break means it's time for new outfits that are both festive and comfy. The last thing they need? New cozy coats for every occasion. Celebrate the season with Abercrombie Kids in the app, online, and in stores.
I like this. What's the worst that can happen? I often then force myself to answer the question, what's the best that could happen? Just to provide some opposite perspective. What I've experienced is 99% of the time, what actually happens is somewhere in the middle. As you
Exactly.
said, you don't die and you don't win the Pulitzer first time out. There's usually somewhere in the middle. Okay, so my next question, and I have some thoughts on this, but why do you believe that we need to cultivate audacity? Why is it important?
Because I think there's a certain innovation in our own lives. You talk about innovation in business and free thinking and stuff, but I think in our own lives, in order for us to be successful and engaged and happy, and my definition of success has nothing to do with money, business, status. It's about waking up every day to a life you're excited about. You need to be moving in a direction. And there's, forward or there's backward. So I think for us to be audacious, to live and in challenge, it gives us in the morning something, just that little extra spark, whether it is fear, whether it is joy. But for me, audacity is the human experience. You're living, you're feeling, you're not just going through some blinded motions.
And it almost is the propeller of purpose, right? Like if you think about this concept that I firmly believe that we are all here for, none of us are here by accident. We're all inherently worthy and valuable, and we all have purpose or many, many purposes. But I don't know how any of us step into those purposes or live that purpose without cultivating audacity. I don't see how that could even be possible. Do you know anybody who's done something huge and big and lived into their purpose that didn't first have to cultivate some sort of audacity?
No, absolutely not. But I do know a lot of people who are afraid to challenge, explore their purpose because of the fear that things won't turn out the way that they want. You know what? Here's a plot twist. They're never going to turn out the way you want. They're going to turn out differently, better perhaps, more amazing, or on a different path. You can't see exactly the outcome because it could be bigger and more outstanding than you could dream of. But nobody gets, as you say, into their purpose or into a joyful life they're excited about without pushing some boundaries.
Yeah, and without other people having opinions about it, which I want to get to in a second. But before I do, you gave us 4 sort of common barriers: fear, time, money, and your inner critic. How do we uncover what is holding us back? I would venture a guess some of us think it's one thing, but it might actually be something else. So how might we uncover or discover what actually is getting in our way?
Yes, and I go into this in the book quite a bit because here's the deal. You have to think about a funnel of, or at least the way I do it, I should say, you can do it any way you want, but what's worked for me is to have a funnel of what my life, what I want it to look like. A lot of people use the term ikigai for it, right? What are you good at? What does the world need? What can you be paid to do and such? I think that important for all of us is to look at what it is we want, pay attention to what sticks in your gut. If there is a will, I will win. I will win. What? When I have more time? We all know that's a farce. That's why I talk about something called the urgency fallacy, where we reprioritize really what's important over urgent, because we can all do urgent all damn day, really. I mean, everything's urgent, but until you put some of that aside. Or is it, I will do that when I have more money? Well, you never really get enough money. As far as I know, and I have some really wealthy friends and I have some friends that are paycheck to paycheck. Nobody ever says, you know what, I have so much money, I don't know what to do with it. I think I will, now
Right.
go for it. So it is about seeing which one makes you the most queasy. Are you hearing yourself saying you're not ready, you're not qualified? They have more qualifications than you. Then your inner critic is a real issue. And I think as women, especially, and women in business, we talk about glass ceilings and shattering glass ceilings. But the real issue for me, Nicole, is the sticky floor. So many of us are stuck to the floor waiting for the right moment. When I'm not afraid, when I have more time, more money and such. So it's about not waiting anymore for when. And as you don't wait, you believe me, those barriers will make themselves apparent to you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say we choose to unstick ourselves from that sticky floor and we begin to cultivate audacity in the
Right.
steps you've laid out. It's probably a matter of seconds before somebody comes along and has an opinion about it.
Yep.
Any advice or thoughts or tips about how to hold on to our audacity in the face of everybody else's thoughts, opinions, comments, and feedback?
I'm a big believer in curating what I call a front row. Your front row are those people who are going to push you, lift you up, hold you accountable, check in with you, cheer you on without fear of jealousy or competition. Now, I'm going to tell you a secret, Nicole. The people in your front row are probably not your mom and probably not your best friend because they want you to stay safe, right? The people in your front row, they don't want you to stay safe. They have no vested interest in your outcome. It is all for you, and they're here to cheer you on. Anybody that is not in your front row does not get a vote. So when we're on social media and somebody is saying something to you, they do not get a vote because they don't know you, and you did not select them to be in your front row. I have a very carefully curated front row for all different parts of my life. I have a fitness front row where if I don't show up, I get the call. Where are you? What's going on? I have a professional front row, a TV front row, a relationship front row. I mean, certainly when I got divorced, I had a group of friends who were like, how are you? Here's the thing. Have you done this yet? Have you done that? So I think creating a front row, carefully curating it, and plucking out the ones that get in there that really shouldn't be in there. That's an important part of living audaciously.
I love that so much. I have talked about having different types of friends, and one of those friends I call front row friends. These are the people who want the best for you, who cheer you on, who celebrate you, who challenge you, and all that. What I haven't heard that I love as an added element is it's unlikely to be your mom, especially parents. Man, they just want us to stay safe. They want us to take risks, but not too many, right? Not too
Right.
bold. So and I love the point that we are curating and selecting these people and that we can unselect people
That's
along the
right.
way if they don't prove themselves to be front row worthy.
Right. And that doesn't mean they're bad people, by the way.
No,
That
of
doesn't mean
course.
their own fears may be seeping into your journey. And that's why they may have to be removed from the front row because
Yeah.
they're so afraid of risk or whatever it is you're trying to do that they start trying to talk you away from it. That's all.
Yeah. Or they just might need to be slotted into another type of friend, right? Like, so I talk about hide the body friends. They're the people who show up when you've done the worst thing and help you problem solve, right? There's
Yep.
your blanket fort friends, the people you're always safe with and comfortable, and there's always snacks, right? Like, we all have these different types. So what I'm hearing you say is they might not be a front row person for now for a variety of different reasons. That does not make them bad people, bad friends, or that they don't care about you. So give us some sense of what are the factors you think through when you decide who gets to be in your front row?
So I love that you asked that question because one of the things, and I was just talking about two of my front row friends the other day, I was talking about this with them. One, we always talk about great friends as the ones that you go to when things are really bad. Like, who are the ones that are going to be on top of you? But there's another level of friendship. And those are the ones you call when things are great, when something really great happened. And if you were to tell the world, it would be bragging. But you call those friends and you tell them because you know without jealousy and stuff, they are cheering you on. So that's one thing I've added in the last year and a half as an element in my front row. Who are the ones that I can tell the greatest stuff and they're not going to be eye roll, oh my gosh, she's bragging, but they're going to be like, yeah, hell yeah, you worked for that. So that's one thing I look for. Two, do they have their own thing, their own gift? Are you able to support them in their front row? Having somebody who's all about you, that isn't a relationship. That's really one-sided. So my front row friends are a bunch of badass women and men who are striving to their own audacious goals, who are exploring their life with vigor and curiosity. That's something that's really important for me because I don't want it to be just about me. I want it to be about them and their journey, which can be completely different from mine. And I think that's an important thing. I want people that are just as fearful and hopeful and optimistic and grinding as I am in whatever field they're in so that I can support them and I'm inspired by their work.
An excellent point. Again, not one I've thought of, but if you just take a step back, it's hard to imagine somebody respecting and appreciating audacity in you if they're not cultivating it themselves for themselves. And
Yep.
so that makes sense to my brain. It doesn't have to be that they're cultivating the same or similar things, but they've got to have their thing
Yes. Whatever it is.
in order to understand, appreciate, celebrate it in you.
Right. Absolutely. And I always say it's really important because people tend to think, well, it's got to be this big, audacious goal. Sometimes what you want for cultivating audacity is to get out of something. Maybe it's a relationship that isn't serving you. Maybe you're living somewhere that you don't enjoy. Maybe you want to spend more time with your children in a certain way. Maybe you want to spend, and I'm not even being funny, although it comes out that way, less time with your children and start working on some goals that are important to you and aren't always about somebody else. So it can be anything. So whatever their goal is, it doesn't have to be some big business goal or some big flashy goal. Whatever it is, they've got something they're trying to create. And I want to be right in their front row to help them create it, to tell them the truth also when they're not doing something that they said was important to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's something about the person who's willing to almost risking their relationship to sort of call you out or to challenge you on something that you've articulated mattered or was important or that you really wanted to do. That's, to me, next level love and care and friendship.
Yeah.
Okay, Anne-Marie, you said this earlier on. I want to circle back. Let's say somebody's thinking about something they want to do, something they want to walk toward or walk away from that requires audacity. And we know it's going to require optimistic mindset, action, behavior changes, and it'll ultimately become part of
Consistency.
consistency, ultimately becoming part of your identity. But you also said fear doesn't go away. So for the person who practices and goes through and does, like you said, the smallest step or the next step or whatever, and fear keeps popping up, any words of wisdom or advice for that?
Yeah, let it. Don't push it away. Acknowledge it. This is scary stuff that I'm doing. And that's literally, Nicole, it. You don't need to have some way to tie it up and box it away. I'm really afraid and I'm doing this.
Yeah.
How about that? This is scary and I'm going to do it and be scared while I do it. Period. I think
Right.
we just want some kind of answer for it. Like, is there an elixir that we can take to make this not feel so fearful? Once you get comfortable with it, and I call it like recalibrating your relationship with rejection or making friends with fear. I swear this sounds so crazy because, believe it or not, I am an introvert. Like when I'm not working, I just want to sleep and be quiet by myself. But I've gotten to the point now where fear comes in and I'm like, hey there, come on in. Like you don't get to make any decisions. Like for my inner critic, I know you're going to be with me the whole time. You're going to be in the passenger seat. I get it, but you don't get to drive. I'll be making those decisions. I acknowledge you're going to come along for the ride.
I feel like that's similar to something I read many years ago because that analogy has stuck with me. This idea that, yes, fear, worry, doubt, all those are in the passenger seats. They're along for the ride, and resisting them doesn't help. They're there, but not letting them get in the driver's seat is the distinction. I also am curious your thoughts on this. Is one of the things I do when fear kicks up, because it always does, no matter how much I've practiced or faced it, is I remind myself of things that I was afraid of a year ago or 5 years ago, because sometimes doing that reminds me that while fear hasn't gone anywhere and it is part of the journey, that I'm getting better at it, or that I've evolved into something bigger. Like what I'm afraid of is bigger or more important than what I was afraid of 5 years ago, as an example. Thoughts on that?
Practice. Right? I
Right.
mean, again, celebrating all those moments. I think that's something that is really important to us because a lot of times we want to celebrate the outcome. Like when this happens, we are going to celebrate. But along the way, there's plenty to celebrate. And part of it is, hey, you know what? I'm not as afraid of this as I was back then. That's a celebration. Or I didn't even think about it this time when I got that rejection. I mean, rejections used to hurt me, and I'm in television for Pete's sake. So, I mean, there's a lot of rejections along the way. And now it isn't at all. It is next.
Right.
I when I hear no, I either hear not yet or next. It's never like slam the door on your career. I mean, can you imagine in 35 years if the first no shut me down? I would have no career nor this constant drive to challenge myself that I have.
Right. Anne-Marie, this has been a phenomenal and fascinating conversation, and I know that people listening are going to want to learn more. So I want to remind them that the book is called Cultivating Audacity. It's available on Amazon or any bookstore. Let's keep local bookstores in business. And Anne-Marie's website is annemarieanderson.com. We'll put that and all other links in show notes so you can find and follow Anne-Marie. Thank you so much for an incredible conversation.
Thank you so much. I had fun. And whatever your listeners want to do, just take that first step. Just the first.
You heard it here first, friend. And here's the thing about Audacity. It's not being loud for the sake of being loud. It's not about stepping on toes just because you can. Audacity is about courage. It's about daring to take the action that feels bold to you, even if others don't get it. It's about choosing to be brave enough to live life on your terms, to pursue the things that matter, and to take the risks that align with who you are and where you want to go. And sure, people might raise an eyebrow or say things behind your back. They might misunderstand you. They might even call you arrogant or shameless. But let me remind you of this. First, You shouldn't take constructive criticism from people who have never constructed anything. And the people who make a real impact, who change their own lives and the world around them, are always the ones who had the audacity to take the bold risks anyway. So whatever the thing is for you, the thing that you've been holding back on, hesitating about, or overthinking, I hope you decide to go for it. I hope you take up space, speak up, stand tall, and claim what's yours. Because at the end of the day, the only people who never upset anyone are the people who never did anything at all. And you are made to create, to lead, to risk, and to live fully, boldly, audaciously. Because that is woman's work.